Thanks for joining me for Perk Stream on this January 11, 2023. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. Hey, thanks for joining me for Perk Stream today. It's good to spend a few minutes together. This last Sunday, I started a sermon series called Refocus. And what I was asking us to do is, after the kind of 2022 we had as a church, let's refocus on what it is that God has called us to do. What is at the core of who we are? And I started out by saying that at the core of who we are is that we are here to help people see and meet Jesus. I use John 12 as a reference point. And I think that that is really something for us to hone in on in 2023. How will people meet and see Jesus through us? And I thought, well, that would be very important for us to do, but it would also be very important for us to revisit who do we say Jesus is? And so I suggested using the book of Mark. Mark writes in a very uh, fast-paced pattern. You almost feel breathless running through the gospel, but you also find the disciples in some very uncomfortable situations, not quite knowing who it is they have said they will follow. They seem to be following this teacher from Galilee who ends up being able to cast out demons and calm waves and multiply bread, and they're going, who is this guy? Well, Mark tells us right from the outset, and that's where I want us to go right now. In fact, over the next few weeks, let's walk with Mark. Who is Jesus? And we start with the very beginning, Mark 1:1. This is the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Now, we've grown up watching, listening to those statements, right? We've seen videos about Jesus. We know a lot about Jesus. And so we know, well, yes, Jesus is the anointed one. He's the Son of God. But a person living in the first century who would make that statement was taking their life in their hands. It was an explosive statement because there was this thing about Caesar. Caesar liked to be called the Son of God, and he had put out a command, hey, if you're going to worship anybody, make sure that you worship me too. Worship me because I'm the Son of God. And he didn't care what your religion was. He just said, this has to be an add-on. Well, that wasn't good for Jews, and that wasn't good for Christians. Christians saw that Jesus was the anointed one, the Son of God. And because that was true, if that confession got out, well, a Christian could be in a lot of trouble. Well, for us, maybe we don't feel that same kind of explosive nature when we read those. We feel the calm assurance knowing that Christ has won and he has triumphed through the cross. But knowing that he triumphed through the cross and triumphed over the grave, the question is Jesus still the Christ, the Son of God? And here's how I would ask it for us today. Does Jesus have the authority over our life to take us any way he wants? So that when we read the Gospel of Mark, when Jesus takes us on an adventure, are we willing to follow him? Does he have say in our life? And I think that that's where we come from today. We who have followed Jesus, or maybe you've only been following him a short time, but you know that he's the Son of God. You believe that. That's your confession. But does Jesus have all the authority that goes with that title? I've been following Jesus for a really long time now, and even I have to stop and listen to that question for myself and say, am I giving Jesus full sway and full say in the decisions I make and the direction I go? I think it's an important question for all of us because when we want people to meet and see Jesus, they need to know that they're not just getting a Messiah who takes care of their needs, they're getting a Lord who wants to refashion their life, even as our lives are being refashioned as followers of Jesus. So it's a big question, right? And that's a question for focus here in 2023. Let's ask this question and just know this: Jesus is wise. Jesus is kind, and Jesus is patient. We don't have to live with the notion that, well, today I'm going to say no to Jesus and wonder if Jesus is going to cut us off. We don't have to live with that notion. But we also shouldn't live with the notion that we can stay there. Let's live into his authority over our life and let him shape us in our character. Let him shape us in our decision making, in our values, in everything that makes us human. Let us come to the point where when we meet and see Jesus, we in fact are laying down our lives and bowing down before him because he is the Christ, the Son of God.